Good day, children. I hope you're all fine. Today we shall study the second part of the excerpt from Nelson Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom. In the first part, we had seen Nelson Mandela take oath as the first black president of South Africa. He had given a very powerful and motivating speech to welcome the guests and to set the ideals and his countrymen. He remembers all the patriots who fought for the freedom of South Africa and who fought against the tyranny and oppression caused by apartheid. There is also a beautiful description of the inauguration ceremony, which was held on 10th May 1994. Now we shall continue with the lesson. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from that profound hurt. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect, and that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sisulus, the Chief Luthules, the Yusuf Dadus, the Bram Fishers, the Robert Sobukwes of our time. Men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom and generosity that their like may never be known again. Perhaps it requires such depths of oppression to create such heights of character. My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamonds. Children, sometimes there are certain events or incidents which cause a lot of pain, and these are not forgotten, not by the people who've been through them and not by the other generations to come. Can you think of any such event which has happened in India? Yes, the partition. The partition of India was very painful. Millions of people became homeless. Thousands died. It was a terrible time. There are several other incidents. Do think over them, do ponder over them. And we should try and figure out how such bad events, such terrible and such painful events can be avoided. Children, Nelson Mandela says Oliver Tambos, Walter Sisulus, Yusuf Dadus. Why is he using a plural? Can you tell me why? This is because he means that there are others like them. There are a whole lot of people who try to imbibe their values, who try to be as strong and as brave and as courageous as them. That is why he is using the plural for them. Children, Nelson Mandela says that it requires depths of oppression to create such heights of character. Do you understand this? What he means is that people can attain a very, very high and strong character when they're faced with difficulties in life, because resistance to oppression makes people more strong, more courageous and resilient. It makes them much, much greater people once they come out of this. Children, according to Nelson Mandela, what is the greatest wealth of South Africa? Yes, absolutely right. The greatest wealth of South Africa is its people. Nelson Mandela says that the people are finer and truer than the purest diamonds, than the riches, all the riches of minerals and gems which can be found underneath the soil of South Africa. It is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Time and again, I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing a strength and resilience that defies the imagination. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. According to Nelson Mandela, what is the true meaning of courage? Yes? Right. Nelson Mandela says that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it, but the victory over the fear. When we conquer our fear, right? There is even an advertisement which shows that Success lies beyond the fear. In this paragraph, Nelson Mandela has talked about the great men and women who have risked their lives, who have given up their lives for the sake of their country, for the sake of their brethren, who have had to bear extreme torture, but they did not break under it. They were resilient. They showed great strength of character, and they won victory over apartheid. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate. And if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Even in the grimmest times in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards. Perhaps just for a second. But it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden, but never extinguished. The amazing thing is that Nelson Mandela was actually able to see the good in everybody. He felt that it was more natural to love than to hate. So he says hate was learnt. It was not a natural emotion. The natural emotion was love. So even in the most difficult times, he could still see a glimmer of hope. In life, every man has twin obligations. Obligation to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children, and he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. In a civil and humane society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both these obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart, twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family. But in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. What are the twin obligations that Nelson Mandela talks about? Yes, obligation to his family, to his parents, his wife and children. And what's the second one? The obligation to his people, his community and his country. Children, can you make a list of all the things that you feel you should do for your family and for your country? I would like you to make a detailed list of this. What happened to Nelson Mandela when he tried to fulfill his obligation towards his people and his community? Yes, he was sent to jail. He was taken away from his family. He had to live in the jail for how many years? Yes, almost 30 years. This was very unfair. So was he able to fulfill his obligation to his family? No. And was he able to fulfill his obligation to his people? Yes. He won the freedom for his people. He, along with several other African patriots. I was not born with the hunger to be free. I was born free. Free in every way that I could know. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut. Free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village. Free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow-moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself, the transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I chose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. Children, when Nelson Mandela was a little boy, a very young boy, did he feel free? Yes, that's right. And what did he do? What kind of freedom did he enjoy? Yes, freedom to run in the fields, freedom to swim, freedom to ride the bulls, freedom to roast mealies under the stars. That's right. So what were the controls on his freedom? Yes, he had to obey his father and to follow the rules of his tribe. That is correct. Children, what kind of freedom do you enjoy? Yes, think about it. But when he grew older, he wanted a different kind of freedom. He wanted to be allowed to stay out late at night. He wanted to be allowed to read whatever he wanted, to go wherever he chose to go. And when he grew even older, he wanted to marry somebody of his own choice. He wanted the freedom to achieve his potential. But was this kind of freedom available? Was it allowed? No, because they were under the rule of the whites. The whites did not give them equality. There were a lot of jobs that these people could not take. The blacks were not allowed in a lot of places. They were not allowed in a lot of jobs. They were oppressed. It's only when he realized this that he realized that he had to fight for the freedom of his people and fight for his own freedom as well. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life-loving man to live like a monk. I'm no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man. But I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. What made Nelson Mandela join the African National Congress? Yes, the realization that not just he but his people, all the black people, were not free. Okay, children, now you tell me, how did the hunger for freedom change him? Yes, he changed from a frightened young person to a bold one. Yes, he was a lawyer and he became a criminal. He was considered a criminal because he was going against the laws made by the whites, because he wanted freedom for his people. He wanted the rights for his people. Then this hunger also changed him from a family-loving man to somebody who didn't even have a home left because he was sent to jail. And he loved life. He wanted to enjoy himself. And yet he had to live the life of a monk while he was in jail. A life of a monk is like without any kind of pleasures in life. So Nelson Mandela felt very strongly that no one should be in chains. Everybody should be free. Even if one person was in chains, then it was considered that the entire community was in chains. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. I'm not truly free if I'm taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. According to Nelson Mandela, what is the oppressor a prisoner of? Yes, he's a prisoner of hatred, a prisoner of narrow-mindedness, of prejudice, of dislike, of discrimination. So here, the oppressor becomes inhuman. And the oppressed are actually treated as subhuman. They are not treated as people, they're treated like animals. So both of them are suffering. And they want freedom for everybody, for the oppressor and for the oppressed. Nelson Mandela wants the oppressor to be free of that hatred, free of that dislike, free of the prejudices and the narrow-mindedness. And he wants the oppressed to be free so that they can lead a comfortable, a free life. Africans have suffered from racism and slavery for centuries. During the 15th, 16th and the 17th century, people from Africa were kidnapped and smuggled to USA and to Europe to work in fields and households. They worked in large cotton plantations. There was a long civil war to end slavery. On 22nd September 1862, Abraham Lincoln issued a preliminary Emancipation Proclamation. And in January 1863, he made it official that the slaves within any state or designated part of a state in rebellion shall be thenceforward and forever free. The 13th Amendment, adopted in December 1865, officially abolished slavery. But the black people's status was still questionable. Several great leaders have stood up against this discrimination. Martin Luther King Jr., he fought for the equality of the slaves. He said, "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal." I have a dream, he said, that sons of slaves and slave owners will be able to sit at the same table. People will be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Even Gandhiji fought against discrimination, the kind of discrimination that we had in India, the caste system. And he uplifted the castes which were treated as untouchables. He called them Harijans. So here in India also, whatever discrimination had been going on, that also our leaders have tried to do away with. Here our leaders have tried very hard to bring about equality. In May 2020, Black American George Floyd was inhumanly treated and killed by a white police officer. This has given rise to great protests in USA and Europe, and a movement called the Black Lives Matter is in full swing. It is getting support from all over the world. So can we say that the blacks have got equality? No. Can we say that they are not discriminated against? No. We still see discrimination. We still see inequalities. We still see racism. Children, we should treat everyone equally. Whatever be their caste, whatever be their creed, whatever be their race, be they men or women, be they young or old, dark or fair, everybody should be treated as equal. Children, now let's do an activity. In column A, there are some expressions you will find in the text. Now you have to guess and match each expression with an appropriate meaning from column B. So I'll read all the expressions of A. 1. A rainbow gathering of different colors and nations. 2. The seat of white supremacy. 3. Be overwhelmed with a sense of history. 4. Resilience that defies the imagination. 5. A glimmer of humanity. 6. A twilight existence. Column B. These are the meanings of those expressions. You have to match them. A. A great ability, almost unimaginable, to remain unchanged by suffering, not losing hope and goodness or courage. B. A half-secret life, like a life lived in the fading light between sunset and darkness. C. A sign of human feeling, goodness, kindness, pity, justice, etc. D. A beautiful coming together of various peoples, like the colors in a rainbow. E. The center of racial superiority. And the last is, feel deeply emotional, remembering and understanding all the past events that have led up to the moment. Now children, you must try and figure out the meanings. You can look into the dictionary, you can read your chapter again, and then figure out the meanings. I'm going to leave it to you. Children, now I'd like you to do another activity. Suppose you are one of the guests who were invited at the inauguration ceremony. I would like you to write a diary entry which would describe the celebrations, the spectacular program put up by the South Africans, and I would like you to also write about the powerful and motivating speech of Nelson Mandela. The next activity is that I'm sure you have all seen the Republic Day celebrations in India. I would like you to make a beautiful drawing and color it as well. Children, let's have a quiz now. The inauguration ceremony was a celebration of South Africa's new democratic and racial government, democratic and non-racial government, autocratic government, monarch.
It's democratic and non-racial government.
Very good. How many deputy presidents were elected? 1, 2, 3 or 4?
It's 2.
Very good. The other countries broke off diplomatic relations with South Africa because it was a poor country, it had white rulers, it had an apartheid policy, it was developing nuclear weapons.
It had an apartheid policy.
That's the correct answer. According to Nelson Mandela, South Africa needed to be liberated from poverty, deprivation, gender discrimination, or all of the above.
It's all of the above.
Well done, child. Nelson Mandela learned that courage was absence of fear, triumph over fear, power to defeat others, ability to kill.
It's triumph over fear.
That is excellent. Well done. 2 national anthems were sung to mark the merging of 2 countries, to show unity, to mark end of racial discrimination, both options 2 and 3.
It's to show unity, to mark end racial discrimination.
That's good. So it's both options 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
Well done. According to Mandela, the greatest wealth of a nation is its people, gems, gold, diamonds.
It's people.
Great. You've understood the lesson very well. I can see that. According to Mandela, man's obligations in life are to his family, to his people, to his country, all of the above.
It's all of the above.
That is correct. So man's obligations are to his family, people as well as his country. Very well done. Let's have another activity, children. You have to match the name of the leader with the country. So column A has Abraham Lincoln, Oliver Tambo, Bhagat Singh, Justin Trudeau, Angela Merkel. Column B has India, Canada, USA, Germany and South Africa. So Abraham Lincoln was the leader of
USA.
Good. And Oliver Tambo was the leader of
South Africa.
Very good. Bhagat Singh was the leader of
India.
Very good. Justin Trudeau is the leader of
Canada.
Angela Merkel is the leader of
Germany.
Well done. If you see any kind of discrimination around you, write about 5 things that you can do to end it. Children, we've just studied Nelson Mandela's very moving description of the inauguration ceremony, of his swearing in as South Africa's first black president. We read about his feelings about freedom, about discrimination, about apartheid. And in the entire lesson, the essence that has come here, the gist of it is that love is the most basic emotion. It is the most essential emotion in human beings. It is the natural emotion in human beings. With love, we can overcome hatred. We can find peace with love. If only we would love wholeheartedly, there would be no hatred. There would be no discrimination. With love, even our enemies would become our friends. It is love that needs to flourish. It is love that will bring all nations close to each other, all races, all cultures close to each other. So children, please spread love and do not discriminate against anybody. Value everyone's freedom, value the integrity of a person, respect each other, and then we shall all flourish, then we shall all prosper.